Hello, readers. It's me, Elle Casey, here to answer your questions. That's my little girl behind me. I promised I wouldn't put her in the video, but I lied. Okay, so I have the list of questions that were given to me by readers on Facebook. So I'm gonna. No, they won't. Okay, so anyway, let's start with the first one. The first one was submitted by Angie Nicholson, and it says, what made you decide to be a writer? When did you start writing? How did you get your start? Do you hear the music in the background? What made me decide to be a writer? I think I've always wanted to be a writer, or always thought I could write something, because I've been a really avid reader all my life, and I always read a book and then think, oh, what would I have done in this particular scene or whatever. So I think I always kind of wanted to, but the idea of submitting my work to an agent and maybe or maybe not winning the lottery and getting somebody to actually like my work just didn't appeal to me. I'm a very impatient person, so I never bothered to finish anything. I wrote a lot of single chapters, but never went beyond that. What made me decide to be a writer, though, or actually go through the process, would be an article that I read last year, maybe almost exactly a year ago. It was about Amanda Hocking, who is an independent author who started writing, she started writing many years ago, but she published her first novels online through Amazon herself because she couldn't find an agent to take her work. And she had a lot of success, and she was writing in the genre that I really enjoyed reading and writing in myself. So after I read that article, I thought, well, what the heck? You know, self-publishing used to be kind of vanity publishing. It was, if you couldn't make it in the traditional publishing world, it was your only option. And it had a kind of a bad reputation. But after I read this, I thought, well, if there are readers out there who will read my work and like it, then I should just try it. So that's what got me started, and that's how I got my start. It's through Amazon. So I'm entirely grateful to Amazon for the platform that they provide to independent authors like me. But I've been writing since I was a little kid, even just little made-up stories, on and off. And I have been a lawyer for many years, so I wrote a lot of nonfiction, semi-fiction for work. Okay, so I'm going to move on here to the next question. Also from Angie Nicholson, what advice would you give to young writers just starting out? I would say, first of all, you need to read a lot in the genre that you enjoy, because readers of a certain genre have expectations. Maybe I shouldn't say there's a formula in books, but there is a certain way that things will roll out that readers of a genre will expect. For example, in romance, you have to introduce the characters in the first couple chapters, and there needs to be usually some sort of instant attraction or instant conflict, and then all these events that keep them apart, and some form of outer conflict that pushes them together, and then, of course, happily ever after at the end. So look for the formula or the things that you enjoy in the books that you like to read, and then make sure that your books that you write have those kind of formulas going on. And but the most practical advice I can give is set a word count goal, and set aside the days that you're going to write each week, and every day that you're supposed to be writing, meet your word count goal. I don't do pages, I don't do chapters, because depending on how you format your writing, that could be any number of words. So you set a goal. I would say a minimum goal would be 250 words in a day. And if you're only able to write one day a week, well, then you write 250 words a week. But if you do that consistently, then over a period of months or a year or 2 years, you will have a book when you're done. So that's 250 new words, not 250 edited words, because whenever I write, I go back and edit what I wrote before. So it's more than just 250 words of work. But for me, my goals now are between 5,000 and 10,000 words a day, but I'm incredibly fast typer, so that's easier for me than it is for most people. So I would say a more reasonable goal for a new writer would be maybe 500 words a day for whatever days you can write. A question from Kara Baker Finch. When are you going to participate in a book tour? I recommend the Printers Row Lit Fest in Chicago. That's a great question, and I don't have an answer to it, although on my website I did post a list of, like, a dream tour if I were ever going to go on a book tour, which I would have to arrange on my own since I'm an independent author, where I would go, and I've had some readers chime in and asking me to come there. So there's a possibility I could do it. I don't know that I would actually go to a book fest or just kind of arrange my own tour, but if I do decide to participate in a tour next year or a fest or something, I will be posting it like crazy. Oop. I don't know what that was. I'll be posting it like crazy on Facebook and my website, and it'll also go out in my newsletter. So I'm going to put, if I can figure out how to do it, my newsletter link up there on the window, and you can sign up to get that newsletter if you want. Next question from Virginia Hutto or Hutto. How do you come up with characters and stories? Well, some of the characters are based on or inspired by real people. Jane is inspired by my teenage self. Tony is inspired by a friend of mine from high school. Other people are maybe an amalgam of different people I've met over the years. Personalities that I've either admired or disliked for whatever reason. I kind of encapsulate them into a person and pick an image in my mind of what the personality matches. And some of the names I come up with for my characters are actually readers who've requested that their names be used, or just readers whose names I really liked and I ended up using them as inspiration. In fact, the name Bodo from my Apocalypse series is a former student of mine who is in fact German and does have that accent that I use in the book. And I got his permission to use his name actually. So I come up with the stories, I really don't know how I come up with the stories other than to say that I come up with characters and I put them in a situation and then the characters just kind of drive the story from there. I don't generally work with an outline at all. I just set the characters down and get them talking, and then they just take the story. I know what genre I'm writing in, so I know that, for example, when I was writing War of the Fae, that there were going to be supernatural creatures, but I had no idea what they would be. Originally, the book was going to be just about vampires, because I love vampire books, but I also am a big fan of the Dragonlance series, Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman from back in the 80s, and I really like all kinds of supernatural creatures, so it just evolved to the point where there were a lot more than just vampires going on. In fact, there was only one vampire in the whole thing now, but let's see, what else? Kara Baker Finch. Nope, that was just a correction. Okay, Natasha Hope Bahora. Who inspired you? Well, I would say the person who inspired me to start publishing myself was Amanda Hawking. I don't know her personally, I just read the story about her. But I also have corresponded a bit with Samantha Young, another YA author who you may know of either from her YA work or the fact that she's now a New York Times bestseller with her adult contemporary romance On Dublin Street, which is a great book, by the way, if you like romance. So she's been Samantha has been incredibly helpful and supportive, and she's just the sweetest girl. So they're inspiring to me to see their success and the way Amanda doesn't do it so much anymore, but the way they communicate with their fans and things was really impressive to me. So I would say they were influential, but people who inspire me to write on a daily basis now are really two groups of people: my readers, you guys who come to my Facebook and my website and leave me comments and make me feel like $1,000,000, and then my family, of course, who are incredibly supportive, especially my husband, who wrangles the dogs and the kids in the house and everything else so that I can just sit there and type till my fingers fall off. Let's see. Samantha Roy, will you ever write more books involving the characters from the War of the Fae series? That is very possible. I don't have anything on the books right now because I kind of planned out 2013 before I had even finished War of the Fae, so I didn't know like how well received it was going to be or what was going to happen with the characters and their lives. But when you read the epilogue, if you read it at Christmas when I upload it, you will probably see that there are some possibilities for a future series with some of the same characters. I left the door open, we'll just put it that way. Virginia Hutto, are there any topics you will not write about? I don't know. I guess some topics are more interesting to me than others, but I wouldn't say that I'll never write about them. I mean, I guess I will say that I probably won't write books that I consider to be preachy, although there are some underlying themes in my book about love and wrong and right and loyalty and things like that. So I obviously have personal feelings about the issues, but I never want to write a book just for the purpose of teaching lessons or anything like that. So I think I would avoid stuff like that. But as far as genres, I'll try any genre because I read in all genres. I probably, this might sound a little strange, but I probably won't ever try to write a great piece of literature, something that, somebody who loves Ernest Hemingway or Ray Bradbury or something like that would look at and say, whoa, this is on that level of literature. No, because I'm more into writing for entertaining. And obviously you can tell from the dialogue of the majority of my characters, they're very current, they're very contemporary. They're not poetic by any means, so I guess I probably would never write something that would be considered great literature by anyone, and I'm perfectly okay with that. I write to entertain readers and to try to pull them into my world. So, but anyway, I guess there's all kind of themes that come out over the years, and I don't necessarily follow a theme. I just do what I like and hope my readers just go with me on it. Sarah Welsh asks, how do you balance family life with writing? And I do it with the help of family and friends and with incredibly understanding people by my side. And I have to give my husband the most credit because he's the most supportive person in the world, and he handles things when I'm busy writing, and that's a lot of stuff when you have 3 kids. And my kids are incredibly understanding, and they're also smart enough to know when they need to come in and force the computer away from me and spend some time with me so that I don't completely check out of family life. So that's how I do it. And when it gets close to deadline time, it's a little tougher, but we manage, and we have a very nice, easygoing life in southern France, so it's never too hectic. It's never too busy that I can't kind of fit everything in. Kara Baker Finch. Let's see. George Gottler. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. What is your fascination with cliffhangers? And George, I have no idea what you're talking about. I personally love and hate cliffhangers when I watch like TV series and movies and things like that. They obviously keep me on the edge of my seat and keep me guessing about what's going to happen and absolutely make me want to watch the next episode. But on the other hand, I hate when somebody does that to me. Like, oh, why don't you just tell me what's going to happen? Because I'm still going to keep reading. I like your stories. But I don't have cliffhangers in my book, so, I can't help you with that one. Kara Baker Finch asked me, who would you cast in War of the Fae and or Apocalypsis if they were made into any movies? And Wrecked, while we're at it. Wrecked is another book that I have out, if you haven't read it yet. If you haven't read it yet, you should. It was my first book that I ever published. And it is not in the fantasy or science fiction genres. It's just action-adventure. But anyway, as far as casting goes, these characters exist in my mind as real, actual people, and I can see their faces. So my daughter has actually done an extensive search for faces on the internet to find actors, and she always gets really, really close, actors and actresses, but no one looks exactly like they do in my mind. And so I haven't actually gone out and tried to find somebody myself. And there's a couple reasons for that. One, I mentioned nobody looks exactly like I imagine. Number 2, the idea that my books might actually be a movie or TV show is so fantastical and wonderful and like winning the lottery that I don't like to get myself excited about something that I don't think will probably ever happen. So I haven't done it for that reason. And also the last thing is that I really feel like for this story to be believable and for viewers to be able to be pulled into the world completely, that the people who play the parts would have to be relatively unknown. That's one thing that bothered me about the Hunger Games movie, is that they put Woody Harrelson in a really kind of a critical role, because I just know his face and I know him so well as an actor, and even his private life that's always out there in the news, that I really could not buy him as that character, and it really pulled me out of the fantasy. And so for me, if I had any kind of creative control over a production of my work, which I probably wouldn't, most authors sign that stuff away, but if I did, I would really want it to be cast with people you don't know. So anyway, that's my answer. Sorry if it's lame. Let's see. Anita Weber, what is a typical day like when you're writing? As in, do you write all day or night or any time? But give us an example of your typical day. And what bad habits do you attribute when writing? Do you eat lots of chalkies, coffee? And actually, there was she had more to the question, and I printed it out, but the extra part didn't print. So, Anita, I'm sorry, I'm going to miss some of your question. I don't know what it is, and where I am in this back room here, there's no internet. Which is, actually, this is part of my typical day. You can see this room behind me. If any of you have read the acknowledgement section of my books, you'll probably see me thanking a lady named Lady O. This is her apartment in Paris that I'm sitting in right now. This is one of the rooms, and this is my room when I'm here, and it's the room that I write in. So several of my books have been written in this room, and so I sit on that bed behind me where my daughter is hiding under the covers right now. And I put some pillows behind my back and my laptop in my lap, and I get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, have a cup of tea, and then I just start writing. And when I'm writing here, I'm quite disciplined. I will write for an hour and stop, take my computer out into the other room and check emails, and then after 10 minutes, I go back to the room and I write for another hour, and I continue until lunch. Then I take a nap. I always take a nap. And then after my nap, I get up and I start doing it again every hour. And then I stop for dinner. I visit with my friend and her husband for a little while, and then I go back and I write and write and write again until about midnight. So when I am here in this apartment, I get massive amounts of work done because I have no internet access in this room. My family's not here with me usually. This weekend was an exception with my daughter here. Normally she's not. So if I have a tight deadline or I just need to escape to get something done, this is the place where it happens. But most of the time I'm at home and I'm working in my bedroom, usually in my bed, because if I don't, I get carpal tunnel syndrome with my hands up on a desk. So I type with my laptop in my lap. And I get up early in the morning and I just do my social media. As you all know, I'm on Facebook quite a bit, so I'll do that for a little bit in the morning. Read any new reviews that have come in on Amazon because I'm absolutely addicted. They're my drugs. And then I write until lunch, have my lunch, take my nap, get up and write again until the kids come home, and then we have dinner. And sometimes I keep typing after dinner, or sometimes I just watch TV with the family. It just depends. And I don't type every day. I don't write every day. There are days I don't do any writing at all. And on those days I could be doing anything. I could be just goofing around, shopping, cooking. I really like to cook. I don't do it as much as I should anymore, but I really like to cook. And I also do all of the marketing for my books, and I do all the cover work and all the uploading to the various websites and formatting and stuff. So even though I'm not writing all the time, I'm usually doing something for my books. Bad habits that I attribute. Not enough exercise. I spend way too much on my fat butt on my bed typing. If there's chocolate anywhere near me while I'm typing, I will eat it. And my husband is an absolute gem, and he will occasionally bring me a little hunk of chocolate. Not enough to get me crazy, but enough to keep me happy. But the one thing that I will eat, like just eat constantly if it's there, is Reese's Pieces. And I can't buy them in France, so I don't have them as often, only when they're imported by friends or family. So that would be my worst habit. I do drink tea throughout the day, but I don't consider that a bad habit. That keeps me a little sharper than I probably would be. Whitney Hutchinson says, what is the funniest way you've ever gotten the creative juices flowing? That is a good question. You know, I get story ideas when I'm just taking a walk with my dogs, or as I'm just barely falling asleep, that twilight time in between awake and asleep where your mind just kind of wanders into some weird place and anything can happen in there. I get some ideas in those places. The ideas that I get in dreams always seem like really great ideas at the time, and then I wake up thinking I've got this great idea, and I start explaining it to my husband, and it turns out to be completely strange and not good at all. So I'm not like Stephanie Meyer, who comes up with a fabulous idea for Twilight in the dream. That doesn't happen for me. I don't know. I'm interested. Jason Brant, another author, and I are going to be doing a joint project this coming year in February. And then we're hoping to be able to continue the project, continually make it a series. And when he and I get chatting together online, because we've never met in person, but whenever we get chatting online, it's just a riot. And it's, fast insults back and forth. So I think we've traded ideas back and forth for our series, and we've come up with some great stuff relatively easily. So I think having a dialogue with another author whose brain kind of works the same way as mine might be a good way, but we'll find out. Now, jury's out on that one still. Let's see. Next question. When is book 2 of the Desperate Measures trilogy coming out? Okay, so those are my books that I write under the pen name Cat Lee, and the next one should be coming out at the beginning of January. I'm going to be starting it after Christmas, but, it'll take me a few weeks to write it. But I'm looking forward to writing that, and I know there are a lot of people who are looking for the next one, so I'm excited. Mariah McCracken asks, do your kids or husband ever help with ideas or inspire any of your characters? Yes, and yes. My husband is really great for making me take a walk around lunchtime with the dogs, and I noodle through ideas or where the plot is going and what characters are doing, and he just kind of listens and will ask a couple questions here and there. But for some reason, the exercise of talking to him and hearing his questions really helps me come up with good answers. And especially the last book of Clash of the Other Worlds, really the walks with my husband were incredibly instrumental in me just finally putting together the last pieces and connecting all those dots. Because if you read the series, there were dots all over the place, and connecting them was quite a job. So talking it through with him was helpful. And, if you ever see an incredibly loving, patient, sexy guy in any of my books, that would be my husband. Yeah. And my son, I take, some of the best qualities of my son and my older daughter, and I put them into various characters. So I don't know, I guess the best parts of the people I love are in the best parts of my characters. And my mother's name is Margaret, and there is Maggie the Witch in Worth Faye. And so it is my greatest thrill and pleasure every time I do a scene with Maggie in it, because I know my mother's going to read it, and she's going to laugh, and I'm going to laugh. And it's going to be hilarious because I do my best to make Maggie seem as hideous as possible and as awful as possible. And it's only because my mother is the sweetest, nicest lady in the entire world that it's just so much fun for me. And I guess if you have any idea what my personality is like from reading my books, you can understand why I would like to mess with my mom that way. And she's an incredibly good sport about it. Crystal Evans says, I know you are also a teacher. What do your students think of your books? Also, on a very serious note, because of the circumstances in Connecticut, what do you think about teachers carrying weapons to a classroom to defend your students? Well, I'll answer the first one. What do your students think of your books? Well, my students are French, and none of them are native English speakers, and most of them do not read books in English. They prefer to read in French. And I would also say that very few of them know that I write books. I do not tell people regularly what my pen name is, because my pen name is not my real name. And so there's only a couple of students who actually know about my books. And Bodo, my German student, he absolutely knows about my books and is thrilled to know that he's in them and that he is a cool guy. But they're not regular readers of my books, I would say. And as far as teachers carrying weapons to a classroom, I think I'm more in favor of much stronger security at schools so that people cannot go onto the campuses and wreak the kind of havoc that they obviously have. Because I think a gun in a classroom is asking for trouble, because anybody who has children knows that if there's something dangerous around, they're going to find it and want to play with it. So, yeah, that's what I think about that. What is my favorite Christmas tradition? Oh... Opening presents? Is that bad to say? That's my favorite. Yeah, Christmas morning opening presents. But Decorating the tree, even though I kind of leave that to my kids, especially my daughters. They're like mad over decorating. I still really enjoy that. Crackling fire and the music and the kids playing and digging out old ornaments that we haven't seen in a year, or, little crafts they made when they were little. We admire them once again every year. I really like that tradition too. And of course the food and the cookies, because, I eat way too much and I love food. So yeah, the cookies. My daughter's a Christmas cookie fanatic, so she's keeping me in my addiction. She's giving me more fuel. Mariah McCracken asked me, I always wonder if the cute little romances that go on between characters in books are ever what the author has ever really experienced. I would say yes. Not always, but sometimes. Natasha Hope Vahora said, who inspired you? I think I kind of already answered that one. But I will also say that there are some great authors out there who I really enjoyed as a kid and some that I enjoyed as an adult. And before I started writing, I was an incredibly avid reader. I really don't read that much anymore for various reasons. But, Stephanie Meyer's Twilight series just absolutely blew me away and sucked me in. I was incredibly entertained and incredibly invested in the characters, and, I just loved it. And I would say that the, things like The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and I mentioned the Dragonlance series by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman and Robert Jordan, and a lot of the, fantasy writers from the 80s. They were a big influence on me. And then even before that, Catcher in the Rye and, books that, Lord of the Flies and things we had to read when we were younger in school. Some of those things are still with me. And even picture books that I had as a kid, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Pinocchio and those things, they just inspired me to read. And then reading brought me into new worlds and made me want to create my own. So I guess those are the things that inspired me. What do I love most about writing? My readers. Absolutely. Whitney Hutchinson asked that one. Caroline Rosenbaum Raleigh, if you could only read books by one author, not yourself, which author would you pick? That's a tough question because I want an author who's going to give me books like often. I can read really fast. I can easily read a 350-page book in a few hours, and I just want the next one. If I loved it, I want the next one. I don't want to wait a year for it. So that might come into my equation. Maybe that particular author's not my favorite, but if they write a lot of books, then I might be more tempted to pick that person. But, I was totally into the Sookie Stackhouse novels. I haven't read the last few because, once again, I started writing and I quit reading them. There's another one, and I don't know why her name is, Sky? What's the series that we watched with the shapeshifter coyote girl? Mercy, the Mercy Thompson series. It's a whole series. No, I know, but it's a series of books. Anyway, my daughter and I are both hooked on it, and it's the Mercy Thompson series, and I'm sorry, it's horrible. I can't remember the author's name. I write it down all the time when people ask me whose books I like. And Stephanie Meyers wrote that great series, and she wrote The Host, and then she just didn't really write anything else except a couple of short stories, and I really wish she'd write more because I would pick her if she did, but she just kind of stalled out. Kristen Boyd said, I love you. Do you love me? And my answer is yes! I love all of my readers, all of you, wherever you are in the world. The fact that you will take time out of your life to read my work and then talk to people about it, or tell your friends, or talk to me about it, and, tell me that it transported you to another place and, took you away from your chores or whatever for a little while. I mean, yes, I love that. I love you guys. I think it's great. Kirsten Usner said, what is your favorite snack while writing a book? Well, that would be the Reese's Pieces. Whitney Hutchinson, brownies or cookies? Ooh, totally depends on the cookie. I'd say Christmas sugar cookies, number 1, and then brownies with walnuts, number 2. Amy Christie Jerome said, what is the most satisfying part of being a writer? And absolutely, hands down, it is people telling you you're awesome. I mean, what kind of job do you get to walk in the door every morning and have 10 people tell you you're the best thing since sliced bread? I mean, please. That's the best part. The readers are the best part. Or I should say reader love. Reader love. Jason Brant asks, why is Jason Brant so much more awesome than you are? Jason Brant. The question really should be is, why are you so delusional? Kristen Boyd says, please answer, is your real name Elle or Cat? And I'm going to give you an honest answer now. The answer is no. Okay, Bonnie Weatherby, will you get your books in print? I would love a physical copy of all your books. Good news, they are all in print now, all except for the Clash 3 book, and only because I want to print it once the epilogue has been released. So as soon as the epilogue is released, then the print books will go into formatting and they'll be ready for you there, but all the others are ready. If you just click on the product page of the book, you'll see there's a little option to pick either Kindle version or paperback version. Okay, we're coming to the end here, and this is a 30-minute video. Oh my god. Whoops, I dropped the paper. There we go. I'm back. Okay, so let's see. I think I missed part of. Yeah, I have a really fabulous reader, another really fabulous reader. His name is Gary Wilson, and he left me a long message, but for some reason my printer cut half of it off, and so I only got the second half, which is, when will you tour in South Carolina so I can pester you to sign all the books I will be buying ASAP? And Gary, my answer is, I'm not sure, but you will be the first one to know. And if it's not next year, it could maybe be the year after. I have to figure out how I could put that all together. Yeah, I don't have a publisher, so I don't have anybody, making arrangements for me. I have to work it all into my schedule, and I got all these people wanting more books, so I can't take too much time away from the writing. So Misty Dies says, oh, no question from Misty. She just wanted to know how she missed all these questions, because Misty has been kind enough to help manage my forum on our website, or on the Facebook, which, to be honest, it doesn't work that great, and I'm probably going to try to find another solution, but she's been on there tracking comments and starting up conversations, so thank you to Misty for that. I got to give another shout out to Teresa, who is a hardcore world-class beta reader, who jumps on my books as soon as I send them to her. Amy Jerome, who's also done some beta reading for me, thank you so much. And I guess I'm closing now. I'm shutting down this video, but I just wanted to say thank you to all of you guys who come to my website, who come to Facebook, who read my books, and especially those of you who review, who tell your friends, who tell your family, and get other readers interested in my work, because without you, I would just stop being a writer. It wouldn't be worth it for me if you guys weren't out there talking about my books and sharing the love. So I appreciate each and every one of you and everything you do to help me. And just keep your comments coming, keep the reviews coming, keep helping me get better, and I promise I'll just keep writing for you. So that's it. I'll talk to you again soon. We'll do another one of these in another month or so. Maybe I'll have something interesting to say next time.